Andy, I'm on your Facebook page again.
Yes, you are. You are here. So am I. And again, we're going to talk about what's happening in our real estate market.
And I'm going to talk about what's happening in the community because we love living in the lane. You live the other side, I live this side, and there's always so much happening out in the community, the Langleys.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's a wide and diverse community made up of many little communities, and there's always something going on.
Yes, and something went on to deal with real estate a couple of days ago, and I'm sure you're going to enlighten us. Our lovely Bank of Canada did a little interest hike where everybody wasn't. I was listening to CBC radio yesterday, and the chief economist said there was only about a 40% chance they were going to do it, and they still did it a little bit early. So I'm curious as to your insights on that, Andy.
Oh, well, a 0.25% increase because our inflation rate didn't respond over the longer terms. So they want to see our interest rate down to about 2%, and we're not there yet. And we have another possible interest rate hike coming up in July. But this 0.25% really, I think, shook a lot of people up, and I think it's going to maybe level off the market a bit.
Okay.
We do have a lot of people out there that are pre-approved. I have one client, they were pre-approved until today, but they were able to get a 30-day extension on their older rate. And yet I have another client we're writing an offer on, and they are not getting an extension, but they're good up until middle of August to actually get their purchase in place.
Yeah, and I heard that there's some mortgages out there, why it's so important, and you're so blessed to have Rita Cousins kind of in your back pocket for all these crazy questions to do with mortgages, that there's some rates out there, that shorter term rates that are lower than longer term rates that I've told, and normally it's the reverse, and that's there. Different mortgage lending places are working with people to kind of say, okay, let's get you in. Yeah, you're so blessed to have Rita.
Yeah. You know, and I would defer to her too, because she's talking to all the financial organizations out there, so she knows which ones are looking for or have a particular product. So if you're self-employed, or if are a little bit older, or that you have a lot of equity, or that you have a larger down payment, but your income isn't quite there yet, she can find that financial institution that will give you financing and at a competitive rate.
So speaking of financing, what are we at these days in the way of what the market is telling you?
Okay, well, let me share my screen, and
I need to enable that. I forgot to do that. There we go.
Okay, so let's get right into seeing what our market is doing. And so if for sales, the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board processed 1,711 sales for the month of May. And that's a 10% increase from April of this year. So our sales volume went up by 10%, and it's a 25.8% increase from May of last year. So last year in March, our volume started to decrease, and March was our high, and then from there the volume of sales decreased. So that's why we're seeing that such a significant increase from year over year. Supply of new inventory is the key question these days. In May 2023, it increased by 20% from April of last month. We processed 3,533 new listings in the Fraser Valley, but it was a decrease of roughly 3% compared to the same month of last year. How does that look if you put it on a graph? We are like this. So you can see here, May of year over year, our inventory is slightly less. Our sales are increased, And but for month over month, our inventory did a big jump and our sales have increased slightly. And I think last month we were starting to see a bit of an inverse in the inventory, and so May inventory has really come out and given a lot of product in the marketplace. So again, when you look at inventory and we want to see if we're in a balanced market or a buyers or sellers market, and here's our interest rate hikes and took us all the way up to here. And then for this year, our inventory went way down, but it's slightly increasing every month. And this is not, this is all pre-interest rate hike of Wednesdays. So next month, we'll see how that reflects on if people still will be putting their homes on the market. But we are seeing increase in inventory, and yet we're still very much in a seller's territory. And again, here is on a graph form is our amount of inventory. So these are 3.5 months of detached homes for sale, 1.8 for townhouses, and for condominiums we're at 2.3%. And it's just well, I was just going to quickly say the overall need for more inventory, if you've seen a few of our shows now, we're always below in the seller's market. It's rarely has it come up into a balance or into the buyer's territory. And it's just it's chronic that we don't have enough homes for sale.
And I'm just going to say, because this slide, because I know the next one is to do with Langley, the Fraser Valley, where would you say people are migrating, moving to these days? Because the Fraser Valley, of course, is Surrey, Langley, Abbotsford, Chilliwack kind of area, Mission. Where would you say people are kind of moving these days to?
Yeah, well, Langley's taking a large part of it. Surrey is probably being the biggest municipality in British Columbia that they're getting, I think there's like 1,500 new people moving into their community every month. And so that there is a lot of immigration. There's a lot of people moving into the lower mainland, and this is what's putting pressure on. And we're going to see I think 2 or 3 million people in the next 3 to 5 years. So that's going to again put more and more pressure on our real estate market, and we need to have more homes for sale. And hopefully that will have incentives and to try and create that and fill that demand. And so this is our housing price index, and this shows our pricing, and based on it's an index, so it's a composite of what the average detached home is, what the average condo or townhome is. And you can see here, we've talked about this now for a couple of months. So it's 1, 2, 3. We've had 4 months of uptick, and it is rising quickly 2 months ago, but it is, and you can't quite see it here, but we'll see it in Langley. It does kind of flatten off a bit, and that's because of the increase of inventory. But I always found it interesting is that this bottom line here, this is it went all the way up here and it came here and bounced here. So that's where the previous level was. And so that's, like a bit of a base. And so by doing it twice, maybe we've got a bit more solid base there that you get this is called infill. And
what I find, just to pause you there for a second, what I find interesting, because we've got such a history here, what we go back 1 to like almost, is this 3 years that we go back?
Yeah.
That this 2015, this seems like it's the fastest turnaround. Like all the rest of them are like grow, a little bit of level, grow, but this just seems like it's like very unusual that it went up a lot faster.
Well, yeah, because of our volume of sales had dropped by at least 55%. We did see a 20% drop in pricing, which for real estate, that's pretty significant. Real estate is usually like a big tanker. It doesn't turn on a dime. And but it was such a dramatic lack of volume of sales, that it just showed that buyers were stepping out and wanted to see where the market was going before they jumped in. People are still there; they still wanted to buy, but they were holding back, and now they're starting to come into the market. Again, how this interest rate hike from Wednesday will affect that, and maybe a possible another hike in July. This price here might flatten out a little bit. We might see something like this. And then of course you can see that, you know, townhouses and condos, they're all kind of starting to peak up too, and follow what the detached market is doing. And here's our Langley market, and our inventory is again not enough homes for sale. Here's our detached homes at 2.7 months, townhouses at 1.4, condominiums. They're building a lot of condominiums in Langley, and but still there's way into the seller's market. And here's our home price index for Langley, and you can see here how you know, how we came down that 21% drop right to 1,462,400, and then the 4 months of uptick. But this last uptick is not quite as strong as the previous month, and you know, and this represents a 2% gain month over month of from 1,541,200 to 1,575,000. And the same can be said again for townhouses and condos. You know, we've gone down. We had 3 months of uptick in terms of townhouses, and here's 4 months of uptick in condominiums. But it's actually 5 months for condominium. But it might level off a bit, and so we'll see as more inventory comes into the marketplace, and maybe buyers step back a bit from the interest rate hike, that the market will level off a bit. Yes.
Oh, we've got a party coming up in your neck of the woods. What's going on?
Well, here I'll stop. We'll keep here. So yeah, June 17th, the Fort Langley Community Hall is opening up their memory garden, and it's in honor of all their volunteers at the hall. And I think one of the main drivers of wanting to create a memory garden was in honor of Bays Blackhall. She was very much involved in the community of Fort Langley for many years, from the 80s all the way through to the last decade. She then she passed away, but she was instrumental in getting the train station, the CN train station, into Fort Langley and renovated. Was very much part of the community hall and of the Heritage Society, and just did a lot to bring a lot of realization of what Fort Langley is all about into the community place. And she was a driver for making sure that Fort Langley kept its small town village feel. And so that's where this started coming from. And I'll be there. We'll be there on June 17th at 11 o'clock. Penny Pound Palm, I know her. She's a fun person, and of course cake. And then Tiller's Folly. They'll have some pretty good local music.
So that's next Saturday and next Saturday. And I'll get you to stop sharing screen. And while I was out looking at different fun things, that Langley City tomorrow is having their community days, where they close off in front of Douglas Park, and they've got music and food trucks and kids activities and things like that. So tomorrow, get out to Langley City for their community days. And what I'm so excited from what you're going to see on the 17th, I'm unable to come, is that the Fort Langley Jazz and Arts Festival is a little bit, about a month and a bit away, and I'll be able to see that garden because our stages are set up close to where that garden is.
Yes, it will be. And the Jazz Festival, of course, that's a big undertaking, a large undertaking, and will be coming on stream, and you can buy your tickets now at the Fort Langley Jazz and Arts webpage. So take a look at that, Google it, and yes, it's going to be pretty good. 2 nights of music with all day concerts throughout the village
on Saturday and Sunday that are free.
Yeah.
And lots of art too. So that's awesome. And Andy, we both happen to be mentioned on the Fort Langley Jazz and Arts Festival website today as being part of the dream team, as they're calling us, for the festival. So go check out the Facebook. I think it's on Facebook and it's on the website about all the team that it takes to put on this festival next month.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, very good.
We're slightly famous, Andy, slightly famous. Well, my friend, I'm really waiting with now bated breath for a month from now when I hijack your page again, because much like you, I'm really interested in those numbers, like how that's going to look in this next month. It's going to be very fascinating for you, and I will wait with pins and needles for our next Andy Talks Real Estate and more.
Looking forward to seeing you, Jeanette. Have a great month, and bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Enjoy the sun. It's coming back tomorrow.
I'm wearing a sweatshirt today. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.